Hey, this is Ralph, and in this video I want to continue working on this amortization table. Okay, so this is where we left off. We set up some basic loan information, used the payment function to calculate what the payment's going to be, and we created the first row of our amortization schedule. Now I want to continue on, take care of the second row, and then fill it down. For the payment, I'm just putting in payment number 1 and 2. I think I'll keep that manual the way it is for now. Now I do want to continue the date, and I want the date to continue automatically for me. So to take care of that, I'm going to end up using an eDate function because I just want to add to this date. The first date is equal to the payment start date. The next one is I'm going to use the eDate function. And notice it has start date and the number of months. So this will allow us to increase on a monthly basis. So in this example, my start date is going to be the date just above it, comma, 1. And so now I'm going to have a continuation of dates. Now don't be thrown off if this happens to you. This is simply the number that represents the date that I want. If you don't like the formatting, then you change it. Well, I'm going to use a date format here. So I'll just simply go up and choose, I guess I'll do short date. There. So now we have February 5th, March 5th, and then we can continue this down. Now, the beginning balance for the second payment is going to be equal to the ending balance from the prior payment. The interest calculation should actually be the same formula. In fact, same for payment, same for extra payment, same for total payment, same for principal, and in fact, same for ending balance. So in theory, I could autofill these down. Let's see what we get now. I'll go ahead and select these 4 cells, and I'll autofill them down for a little bit. And we see things start to look a little bit messy, but that's okay. The beginning balance also needs to be filled down, and so does the date. I'll go ahead and select these 2 cells. Notice I'm selecting the second row of my amortization table for date and beginning balance. And I'm going to autofill those down away. And we're going to see that this amortization table starts to get populated. Now for my payment number, since I'm just going to increase these by values, I could do something as simple as equals the previous cell plus 1. And then I can take the second one and autofill that down. And so now I've got 20 payments for this amortization table. So that you can see that this is working, I'll head over to my loan inputs and I'll change the number of months from 24 to 20. That means my monthly payment gets higher, but ultimately this is what we get for an amortization table. We see all the payment numbers, we see all the dates, we see the beginning balance steadily decline as the loan is paid off, we see the interest steadily decline as the beginning balance gets smaller. Our payment stays fixed, no extra payments we're dealing with. The amount that we apply to principal steadily increases, and of course our ending balance ultimately zeroes out way at the end with our last payment. Now you'll notice that my 0 is actually showing up as a negative number. Red in parentheses mean negative, and that's just because if I were to show a bunch of decimals here, well, there we go. At some point there's actually some values there, and we'll deal with that later on, but otherwise not a big deal. So now that we have this amortization table mostly complete, we can actually test it out. So if I were to change my loan amount to $20,000, my interest rate to 4.5%, number of months I'll change to 15 months, we can see that the loan payment's about $1,373, and we can see that this loan pays off, of course, in 15 months, or payment number 15. But I want to contend with what happens when the loan is paid off and what happens beyond that last payment. This is where we're going to have to start to enhance this amortization table with if functions so that we can zero these things out after the loan is paid off. So for that, I'm going to do a number of if functions. And I'm going to start from the left here. These will actually be the easiest ones to work with. And sometimes I think it's nice to not even start at the very top, but start as soon as the issue occurs, and then we can copy the formula up and down to take care of all those others. So let's try it here with our payment number. And I'm pretty happy with the simple formula that I have in there, by the way. But I only want that to occur if there's an ending balance. So I'm going to incorporate an if function in here. And I'll just start right at the left. If the ending balance is less than 0.01 or less than 1 cent, then I'm going to display a 0. Otherwise, I'm going to take the previous payment number and add 1. That's my if function. And you'll see now I zero that out, and I can autofill this down, or I can click and I can autofill it up. And I'm not going to autofill it to the very top row. I'm only going to go to the second row. And now we'll see that my payment numbers count out, but they zero out once the loan has been paid off. We can test this out. I'll just change the number of months for this loan to 12 months. That makes the payment go up higher. And of course now we can see that the payment number stops at 12. Now that we have this information, by the way, we can go to actual months paid, and I can type in equals max, and I want to get the largest number from this range. There we go. So the largest number in the range D2 to D21 is going to be 12, hence 12 months. If this is a 16-month loan, the largest number is payment 16. Now I'm going to do something very similar for the date. I'll go to this one date right after my loan is paid off, and I'm going to modify this. I'll use another if function. If the ending balance from the previous month is less than 0.01, less than a cent, then I'm just going to display a 0 here. Otherwise, I'm going to use my eDate function and add 1 month to the previous date. Now I have to put in another closing parentheses to make sure everything is nested right. So I'm using an if function that has an eDate function as the false parameter. Now when I press enter, I get this weird date of January 0, 1900, but that's okay. Let me autofill it down. I'll click on the one that I just did correctly and autofill it upward, not to the very top, just to the second row. And so now I can see I have normal dates going along, but as soon as the loan is paid off, my dates just go to 0. Don't worry about that formatting. We're going to fix that up in a second step in another video.